Michelle Mockbee loved her job at Thermo Fisher Scientific. After all, she met her husband Dan there, a good mom with 2 adorable little girls, and a loving big sister to Jennifer and Cindy.
What kind of gal was she?
My sister was not only my big sister, but she was my best friend, and she was a great role model to all of us.
She loved her children. She was a great mom.
What were Michelle's passions in life?
Her passions in life were her kids. She loved her kids. She would have done anything for them.
And it was for her children that Michelle found herself going to work very early one morning. Michelle worked in the HR department and oversaw payroll.
She arrived super early that day. It was the first day of the girls' summer vacation from school. So she was planning on getting payroll done early so she could go home, spend time with her family.
When she arrived at 5:53 a.m., she grabbed the time card so everyone would be paid. But she wasn't the only one in the office early that day. The janitor was there too.
Is he usually there at that time?
I'm not sure, I really don't know, but I know that she more than likely surprised him by coming up those steps that morning.
David Dooley and his wife Janet had the contract to clean the building.
What was David Dooley's connection to your sister?
I don't think they had ever really corresponded very much, but the two of them. She talked more with his wife, Janet. And they were very friendly at work. Janet even attended Michelle's baby shower that her coworkers had held for her.
About an hour after Michelle arrived at work, she was dead. Dooley and another employee found her body.
Michelle was on the floor outside of her office. Plastic was covering her head. Her hands were zip-tied.
Crime Watch Daily producer Rebecca Ware has been chasing details on the violent story.
There was blood spatter everywhere. It was a horrific crime scene.
Michelle have any enemies, any tension between other people that could lead to something so horrific?
No, Michelle never had any enemies.
No animosity between coworkers?
Not that I ever knew of.
Cops soon put Michelle's husband Dan under the microscope. He reportedly would receive $700,000 in life insurance from her untimely death.
Usually investigators initially will look into the husband, right?
Oh.
Especially when you're saying, oh, I can't think of anyone. She had no enemies.
So yeah, they had to look at him. They had to question him just to rule him out, and they immediately ruled him out. He took a polygraph test the next day. He passed. I think judging, by his reaction alone, they kind of knew there's no way this man could be responsible for this.
And cops also ruled out a little more than a dozen employees who were at the factory that morning, except for one.
We knew that they were kind of narrowing in on one person. They would never reveal who that person was, but this person had stuck out to them early on in the investigation, I think maybe within the first 48 hours.
You're talking about David Dooley?
Yes.
David Dooley, the janitor. He was reportedly seen on surveillance video leaving the facility at 6:31 a.m., right around the time investigators say the murder occurred.
He was the only person to leave that building. He told somebody that he ripped his pants. He came back with clean clothes on when he's a janitor. He told the detectives that he was checking on his wife, so his story changed several times.
Certainly eyebrow raising. He left his place of employment to go change right around the time that Michelle turns up dead.
Yes.
Prosecutors say Dooley failed to tell investigators he returned to work later that morning.
Prosecutors say his behavior was odd, and his story about where he was the morning of the murder was inconsistent. And it was those inconsistent statements that ultimately led police to zero in on him and charge him.
Dooley was charged with murder, kidnapping, and tampering with evidence. He pleaded not guilty to all charges.
Either my client is innocent or he is some pathological liar.
What could he possibly have to lie about?
What did your sister catch David Dooley doing?
I'm not sure that she caught him doing anything at that moment, but I think she was onto him stealing money basically from the company.
How would David Dooley, as a janitor, be stealing money from the company?
He was clocking himself in and his wife, who was not even there. So they were getting paid 3 times what they should have been paid.
And your sister may have been onto it?
Yes.
Therefore, he has to get rid of your sister?
Yes.
But that is only the sister's theory, and there is no proof that Dooley or his wife Janet committed any wrongdoing with the payroll. Janet remains convinced her husband is innocent.
I told all my friends and my family if I thought for 1 minute that Dave was guilty, I would not stand by him.
And a search of Dooley's apartment and garage apparently produced no evidence tying him to the crime.
Prosecutors believe Dooley went home that morning to dispose of the evidence, but in their search, detectives found nothing that would support that claim.
At the trial, the prosecutor, Linda Talley Smith, admitted the case has flaws.
Prosecutors told the jury that there was no smoking gun, no eyewitnesses, no fingerprints, and so this was basically a circumstantial case, and prosecutors focused on Dooley's inconsistent statements.
But despite the lack of physical evidence, the jury convicted Dooley.
I don't know exactly how much time, but it took him a while to deliberate.
And when the guilty verdict was announced by the jury, what were you feeling?
We were relieved. The judge first read the kidnapping charge, and he was found not guilty of that. But then they read the murder charge and found him guilty, and we were just absolutely relieved that justice was finally served. You know, justice was served for Michelle.
Case closed? Not quite. David Dooley is in a courtroom in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, wearing prison stripes. He's about to be sentenced in the murder of Michelle Mockbee.
Courtroom is divided between the people who know I didn't do it and the people who think I did.
Dooley unleashed an angry outburst towards the jury, and the judge wasn't having any of it.
You need to address the court.
I am all of it. Notice the difference between his words know and think. Just because you think you know something doesn't mean you're right.
This former janitor has maintained his innocence from day one, but his claims fell on deaf ears.
We, the jury, fixed the defendant David Wayne Dooley's punishment for the offense of murder at life imprisonment.
What'd you make of Dooley's theatrics during the sentencing phase of the trial?
I don't think he'll ever admit to being guilty of this crime. As long as he feels there's some glimmer of hope out there that he's going to get away with this.
But now Dooley thinks he could get a glimmer of hope by appealing his conviction. Then a shocker surfaces. This grainy video raises big questions.
This video shows an unidentified man walking up to the door of a business in the same building where Michelle's company is. The video was recorded 10 hours before her murder.
Who is the guy the cops call the random dude?
Dooley's defense lawyers say there is no visual evidence the so-called random dude left the property before the killing. No one knows who he is, and he's never been found.
During the appeals process, the special prosecutor filed a motion basically admitting that the defense never saw the surveillance video.
Why not? Prosecutors say it was a random truck driver. It was 10 hours before the murder and not relevant to the case. Dooley's defense disagrees and goes back to court asking for a new trial.
Okay, it's going to come out anyways. We may as well ask it.
The next question Dooley's lawyer, Deanna Dennison, asked lead detective Bruce McVeigh will shock everyone.
Question. Were you having a sexual relationship
Objection.
with Linda Talley Smith?
Objection.
Dennison is accusing the detective who investigated the murder of having a sexual affair with Linda Talley Smith, the woman who prosecuted the case, a relationship they claim began after Dooley's trial.
Did you establish a personal relationship with her after the trial or during the trial?
We were friends, Deanna.
Just friends? Is that what are you telling me you didn't have a sexual relationship with her?
We were friends.
Did you have a sexual relationship with her? Are you denying that?
I think it's any of your business.
You're under oath. This isn't game land here. I'm asking you a question. Did you have a sexual relationship with Linda Talley Smith? Yes or no? Tell me what it is your answer is.
I just said yes.
But it just gets more embarrassing. McVeigh admits he and Smith had secret code names for each other.
What was her code name?
I think
Chiquita Queen?
Chiquita Queen, yes.
Okay.
You heard right. The lead detective called the Commonwealth attorney and officer of the court Chiquita Queen.
This is weird.
Now Dooley's lawyer puts the prosecutor in the hot seat and grills her.
So I don't get a chance to explain it?
I didn't ask you to explain it. She can ask you to explain it if you want to. And you're not controlling this anymore. You're not the Commonwealth attorney right here.
And then in a stunning turn, Smith throws her one-time detective lover under the bus.
Before I tried this case, I did not know anything about the person walking. I did not find out about it until Bruce McVeigh told me months after the trial was over. If he's willing to lie in a case report, then obviously he's lied to me about everything there is to lie about.
But all the sex talk turned out to be a sideshow. In an 18-page decision, the court ruled that Dooley was entitled to know about the surveillance video. And in a ruling that shocked everyone, the judge vacates David Dooley's conviction and orders a brand new trial.
Were you upset when you heard about the vacated conviction and new trial? I mean, you got to go through this all again.
Yeah, I was definitely a little upset, a little surprised at the judge's decision, but I totally respect it. I know why he did it. Maybe the new trial will be a way to get the word out to all the naysayers out there, the people who think he's innocent based on only what they hear.
But in our justice system, Dooley is innocent until proven guilty. Remember, he is getting a new trial, but he remains in jail on a $1 million bond.
Have you ever had any words directly to David Dooley?
I would love the opportunity to actually confront him one day.
And say what?
Why? Why would you do that? That's exactly what I would say. No answer is good enough, obviously, but just want to know why.
Michelle's family has no doubt Dooley did it, but will this grainy surveillance tape raise all new questions at trial number 2? There's no question that everyone will miss Michelle Mockbee.
What do you miss most about your sister?
I miss her laugh. I miss her smile. I miss her joking around with me, kind of picking on me a little bit because she was my big sister. I just miss her being there. She was always there.